welcome back. Another Tech Tip Tuesday video in our summer series here, and we just want to remind everybody about our giveaway. So we've got one winner who's going to get a set of Joey's bowstrings and cables for their setup, whatever bow that happens to be. And then one winner is going to get their pick of broadheads from Vantage Point Archery. Make sure you head on over, check both of them out. Make sure you follow them on Instagram. All that stuff is in the description. And then make sure you like and comment on every single one of these videos in this series. So if you're just getting in on this series, make sure you go back and watch the other episodes, and then watch every episode after this through the end of September. Everybody that has liked and commented on the videos, as well as subscribed to our channel, followed us on Instagram, follow VPA and Joey's Bowstrings on Instagram, or they're going to be entered to win. So make sure you don't miss a single episode. All right, hey folks, welcome back to another one of our Tech Tip Tuesday videos. This is actually a bonus video. So you all thought we were ending last week with that video, but we're throwing in this as a little bonus video for you all, just to help provide some additional information. So today, what I'm going to talk about is arrow setup. So I've been kind of messing around with this this year, not really changed up a whole lot of different things. There's a couple things that I'm doing to kind of test out some stuff, and I'll talk about that here shortly. But really, I just want to kind of go over the basics of what I've got going on my arrow setup, and then just kind of why I'm doing that. As you know, if you've been following along with us, we're using Victory arrows, and specifically we've got the Victory Rip SS arrows. So these things are phenomenal, and if you've followed along with some of our videos with like our shorts and stuff, especially when we were at TAC this year in Seven Springs, Pennsylvania, we talked about these things. These things are new this year from Victory on the Rip SS line. And these are the V1s, so these are top of the line Victory arrows. And what's nice about these things is, I go back. There's a video from when we were at TAC we did with one of the Victory reps there, and it talks about all the construction on this arrow specifically. So I highly encourage you, when you get done watching this, go back and watch that one. It's a great video. It talks all about this specific arrow. For me specifically though, I'm shooting a 250 spine arrow, and so it's pretty stiff. I mean, this thing, there's like very little flex on this. So heavy arrow overall, and then I'm shooting a pretty heavy broadhead on this. So for this specific setup, this is my hunting arrow setup here. I'm shooting iron will 3 fletch. I'm pretty impressed with these things. I like the way that these arrows are flying, and I like the sound that I'm getting on these. That was one of the things I wanted to talk about, that I was going to mention, and I'm going to talk about later in a different video and I'll show you why. Because I've got 3 different arrow setups, fletching setups I should say. Same arrows, same broadhead, same everything, just different fletching setups. And really what I'm trying to see is the difference in arrow flight, in sound, those types of different characteristics. But for my basic hunting setup here, I've got a 3 fletch iron will on here, which I've been super happy with. Obviously I've got the Victory Rip SS and a 250 spine, and then I've on the front end here these half outs. These are the standard Victory half outs, and this is a 50 grain, and I really like these things, and I'll talk about why here in a second. As far as what I'm shooting for broadheads, so we're working with Vantage Point Archery. They're one of the sponsors of this video series, and someone's going to get a free set of broadheads from them. And I have right here their new Omega, and this is a 200 grain single bevel broadhead, and it's a relay flat technology. Which is nice about this thing is you can take a flat stone, you don't need to have like a jig or anything like that, and you just lay this thing flat on there and sharpen it. Go check out their YouTube channel and their Instagram, and you can see some stuff on that. We'll be doing a video talk on this as well here in the near future. But for today, just talking about the fact that's what I'm shooting up front here. So I've got, between the half out and then the broadhead, that's 250 grains, and then my total arrow weight is about 637, 38 grains. A lot of people, have criticisms of that. That's fine. They can have all the criticisms that they want. But what I know is that this is probably the best arrow setup I've ever had, and I've been shooting a bow since I was a kid. With this arrow setup, granted this is new for me with the Vantage Point Archery broadheads, but I've been shooting a single bevel setup for some time, as you guys know if you've been following along. And I've had a ton of success with this. And I will tell you that I'm super excited to shoot these broadheads this year, because just with shooting this into foam this year, getting ready for the season coming up, I can't tell you how impressed I am with how these things are flying. So this whole setup between the broadhead all the way up to the knock has been impressive. So speaking of the knocks, I'm just using the standard knock that Victory has on here. These should be the H knocks. At any rate, pretty simple setup overall. What's important, so this is going to change from everybody. Chris is using a different setup on his. He's got a 3-blade from VPA, 150 grains. He's got a 300 spine arrow, and then same half ounce to 50 grain on the end on that. And he's got the iron will three fletch on his. So same arrow, different spine weight, different broadhead weight, and that's really the only difference. What's important is with this is understanding, depending on how heavy of a broadhead you're going to be shooting, that's going to determine, and combined with poundage that you're shooting on your bow, is going to determine the spine weight you need for the arrow, and that's going to change. So what's important is that you talk. Honestly, what the best thing to do is talk to talk to the arrow builders. So because they'll tell you, and there's a lot of guides out there. You can go on the VPA website, you can go on a Victory website. There's a bunch of websites out there that'll tell you, if I'm shooting this poundage at this draw length with this broadhead, I need this spine of an arrow. And that's important to find out what that sweet spot is for you. I know for me that this setup here is perfect, and I've tested it out with flight, and it's pretty awesome. So it's important to check those things out and understand it's not as simple as just buying an arrow at this spine and this broadhead at this grain weight at this draw length. So I'm shooting a 30-inch arrow, so with 70 pounds of draw weight, and then with this setup, and I know that works pretty well for me. So it's important, again, to make sure you check that, because there's a lot of people that some of the criticisms that people get shooting these types of arrow setups, where you're not paying attention to what all the other factors are play from the total length of the arrow to the weight up front, and then combining it with the spine, combining that with your draw weight. So take a look, understand what that looks like, ask some questions. You can ask us, we'll find some answers for you depending on what that setup is. Ask around and get you an answer back if that's something you want us to do. Or contact Victory, contact whatever arrow maker you're using. Go online, look at some of the resources that are out there, and make sure they're solid resources. They're not some fly-by-night type of thing. So we're not going to sit here and say we're experts at this. We will sit here and tell you that we know that what works for us, because we've taken time to go look at the resources available and build these arrows. So, for me specifically, this is like a 3 or 4 year journey in getting to this arrow setup. So I talked about the fact that I was going to be messing around with some different, fletching subs this year. So again, same exact arrow here, same half out. I'll shoot the same field tip broadhead, out of this, the same, knock. And the difference is I got a 3 fletch tack vanes on this thing. So what I have found on these so far, and again, I've got a lot more study to do on this, which is why I don't have a video series out on that yet, but is sound. So these seem to fly pretty well. I will say that the iron will setup flies way better. These tack vanes are way stiffer than these iron wills. So these things are much more flexible than the tack vanes are. That's one characteristic that I've seen. And there is a little bit, you can see here, there's a difference in how the shape of the fletching is, right? Maybe that has a difference, I don't know. There's some ribbing on these iron wills that you don't have on these other vanes. So at any rate, what I have found is that there's a little bit different flight characteristic. It's not drastic, but I do notice from my perspective, from the shooter perspective, that there's a little different sound that I get on these arrows. The iron wills are quieter. What you'll see when I get the videos done on what this looks like, downrange, is I'm going to set up some my audio and video stuff downrange at the target, and then try and see if I can capture the sound different characteristics coming in from these arrows, and see what that looks like. Because part of the whole jump in the string thing that I have seen, at least in discussion with people and research I've done, is it's not just so much the release of the arrow from your string, hence jumping the string, but as much as the sound of an arrow coming to the deer. So we'll see. I want to see. That's just one of the things I want to find out. And then the last setup I have here is my setup I was shooting last year into the early season this year. Early season of shooting this year was this 4-fletch blazer, just your standard blazer vanes. And I don't know, jury's out on this. I felt like I had pretty good arrow flight on these things until I started shooting, the tack 3-fletch, and then especially this iron will 3-fletch. The one thing I do know is definitely different from the shooter perspective is the sound difference. So we'll see how this ends up, comparing once I can do my downrange stuff with getting the camera and the audio set up down there. And I'm really curious to see what that looks like. Because again, like I said, from the shooter perspective, it really seems like this is a louder setup, which I had some, last year in a couple hunting instances where I think that may have played a factor. I missed a deer that I think I should have hit, and that deer just kind of vanished by the time the arrow showed up. So there you have it on the fletching setup here. So there's the 3 ones. I got the tack vanes, the iron will vanes, and the blazer vanes. And I will tell you from this point right now, which is why I'm using as my hunting setup this year. These iron will vanes are pretty key. Overall here, what the key is that understanding what works best for you. So with your setup, everybody's setup is different, right? And understanding the correlation between your draw length, your draw weight, the fletching that you're going to use, whether it's 3-fletching, 4-fletching, or any other kind of type of fletching people use out there. The spine of the arrow, the type of arrow, whatever it is, it's all important. So it's just like if you are a rifle pistol shooter, understanding your rifle and your pistol, and then the type of ammunition, the grains of the bullets coming out of that ammunition, whatever the characteristics are of the different types of ammunition, knowing what that looks like is important. So we did a video back in the spring, looking at patterning our shotguns, right? Well, this is kind of the same thing. So patterning a shotgun, having different types of chokes, different types of ammunition out of your specific shotgun, that has an impact. It's all the same thing here, and it's kind of like a thread that you have heard throughout this whole series that we've done over the last couple months. This is video number 11, and the key that we have kind of really harped on is archery is really no different than any other kind of firearm shooting, and it's important, one, to practice. It's important to understand your gear, and it's important to understand that how your body and the gear you have all operates together, to make a consistent and accurate shot. Hopefully this video has been informative, and you're able to kind of learn something from this and understand, why it's important to understand, the characteristics of your arrow setup and why it's important to do some research. So just like you're going to do research on anything else that you're going to spend a bunch of money on, and in this case, ideally get a nice, clean, ethical shot on an animal. Check out, Victory. They've got some great arrows. There's a lot of other ones out there, but Victory's obviously got some great stuff. Check out these iron will vanes, because I'm pretty impressed with them, to be honest with you. I had some questions about it beforehand, but I'm pretty impressed so far. And then I'll tell you, I've been shooting a lot of different broadheads over the last, half a dozen years or so, and these VPA broadheads are legit. So check them out. American made, and great company and great product. I hope you guys enjoyed this whole Tech Tip Tuesday series. Go back and watch all those the videos if you haven't already, and drop some comments in there. Let us know, is there other tips about archery, type stuff that you would like, from saddle shooting to the equipment to fundamentals, whatever it is. Let us know, because this is the type of stuff that by doing these things has made us better in our, better as archers, and we hope that all of you can be better as well. Not that we have all the answers, but we continue to try and get better and learn, and that's all we're trying to do, is help you guys get better and learn as well. So come along on the journey with us, ask some questions. Maybe it's something we haven't thought about, and we can go research and learn something on our own, and then bring it back to all of you to share as well. So really enjoy doing this with you guys, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Lots of content coming up, so stick around, folks.